Howdy folks, sorry for the delay, bit of a delay, but apologies for that. Welcome to RPI's show. The first thing that I want to do is dedicate this show. Tonight's show is dedicated to my good friend Alan Ward. Alan was a unique character, to say the least. I first met Alan when I was just about 17 years old. And Alan called me up to he called me up because I was selling some Germain Imbrecht pigeons. If you remember those pigeons, I was selling some Germain Imbrecht pigeons. And he, after a few phone calls, beat me down on the price and we did a deal. And I went to deliver the pigeons to him at his lovely farm in Wales at the time. Alan was a great guy. I've known him, like I said, I've known him now for 28 years. Alan first introduced me to drinking whiskey. I had never touched whiskey before in my life, and he introduced me at the age of 18 to drinking whiskey. My brother and I used to spend weekends with him and his lovely wife May at their farm in Carmarthenshire. I actually find this very hard. Alan, over the last year or so, has been for quite a few years he's been battling cancer, and for many months now he battled having a stroke, and unfortunately he went into a care facility, and he unfortunately passed away on Saturday. He was a pigeon man. He was a animal man. His farm, he had, when I first went up to see him, he had I think it was 7 or 8 dogs at the time, including a big St. Bernard, and he had racing pigeons. He first was actually the guy that introduced me to the American Trenton pigeons. Alan wasn't just a friend, he was a mentor. I, many times throughout my life in the last 28 years, called Alan up to get advice. Alan was an East End London guy. His family were East Enders, proper East Enders. I have more stories that he's passed and shared with me about his life than I could possibly ever share on this show. He gave me great advice, and very weirdly, I was due to call May, his wife, to see how he was doing on Saturday. And last week, when I was sorting out the garage, making room for the lofts, Alan gave me this book, The Creation of a Strain, quite a few years ago. And it's actually written to George Slade with all affection, regards. I'm not sure what it is, but this was dated 1956. And he gave me The Creation of a Strain book, which I weirdly found this week, which means a lot more to me than it did before, and it meant a lot then. Like I say, he was a one of a kind, Alan. He used to call his wife May Mum. He was a vegetarian, and he turned me on to the idea that vegetarian food was actually tasty. I used to go down there, and he used to cook amazing vegetarian meals. He was a great cook. Many a night, years ago, we used to spend many a night talking, and I will seriously miss him. I will miss him, and I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to see him before he passed away. I'm gutted that I won't be able to go to his funeral. I would have loved to have read something at his funeral. I'm gutted that I can't go. I'm hoping that when all of this bizarre situation we've got lifts, that I will be able to attend the spreading of his ashes for when his wife and his daughters and his son Alan in Australia come over at some point to do that. He meant a great deal to me. He mastered the art of Skype, and we used to have a lot of Skype calls and conversations, and I will really, truly miss him. Like I said, he was a pigeon man. He never really raced too much. He didn't like the politics of it all. As I say, he was a unique man, straight-talking East End guy. But he loved animals, he loved his family, he loved the countryside, and he passed away on Saturday. And he, for many years now, was based in Lydney in Gloucestershire. Alan was a diamond of a guy. When I had my legal issues and I had to be away for 2 years, he straight away offered to look after one of my big dogs, my Weimaraner Zorba at the time, and kept that dog, him and his wife, fed that dog, kept him, looked after him for 2 whole years for me, which shows you the kind of man that he was. So Alan, if you can hear this, my show's dedicated to you. And if I'm honest, I find it slightly strange that this show has got probably the most highest viewing figures we've ever had. We currently have 185 people watching. And I'm pleased, for the wrong reasons, that probably this show has got the most highest viewing figures we've ever had. And I'm glad that the show's dedicated to you. And you will be laughing up there somewhere as to why this show has got the biggest viewing figures we've ever had. So please let me dedicate this entire show to Mr. Alan Ward, born 27th of June 1937 and died 19th of April 2020. Rest in peace, Alan. I know you'll be giving them hell wherever you happen to be, and I'm glad that you're out of pain and you can be the real spirit of you as you always were. Thank you for that. It meant a lot for me to dedicate the show to Alan. I will be putting a dedication to him in the British Homing World as well. So, welcome to the show. We have 185 people watching this show across Facebook groups, pages, on YouTube, and I'm under no illusion that I know that this show has got more popular, bigger and better over the last few weeks. We've had 100 plus people watching all the time. We had 145 people at the height last week watching when Richard Chambers was on. But I'm under no illusion as to why probably we've had the highest viewing figures we've got at the moment. I'm only going to talk about certain things that happened this weekend. I'm not saying much more about it. I'm only going to talk about what's happened over the weekend. So on Saturday night, whilst waiting for our pizzas to be delivered, Gabby, my girlfriend, Zandy, my youngest son, and I, with our 3 dogs, were sitting in our lounge, and we suddenly heard the car alarm on our driveway go off. And it's only 6 foot away from the house, the office that I'm in here, 6 foot away from, and 20 foot away from the lounge. And Zandy and Gabby shot up. I had got my laptop on my lap as usual when I was a little bit slower. And Gabby and Zandy said, somebody's trying to steal the car. 2 seconds, within 2 seconds, the car was up in flames. Somebody had smashed the back window, put a petrol can through the car and lit it. Now, as some of you will know, I've only just recently moved house, and not a lot of people know where I live, to be honest. Not a lot of people have my address. I'm so behind on stuff that I haven't updated my address on things. I haven't updated my address on company's house or any of that. So not a lot of people actually know my new address. And said people, perpetrators of this, actually did this from I live next door to a post office, and they did it from the post office side of the wall. We've now got nearly 200 people watching this. Hang on, my light's gone out. Apologies, folks. They did it from across the other side of the wall because we have floodlights on our drive, and it meant that the floodlights didn't come on. Unfortunately, due to the COVID stuff, the CCTV system which I have hadn't been fitted in time because of all of this stuff. 3 people in hoodies lit my car up whilst my family and my dogs were in the house. And that's what happened. 6 police cars, 2 fire engines later. There is some CCTV caught from various parts of the road. Not great yet, but the police are working with some commercial places on our road that have got very good CCTV systems, so we'll see. I have seen comments online about this, and I'm not making any comments. I am purely telling you what happened. The car was set alight at 10:10 on Saturday night. If it weren't for my very good next door neighbours who have the post office having a commercial grade fire extinguisher in their property and using it on my car, it could have been very, very different. If the fire hadn't have been put out so much, I mean, the car's a write-off for sure, but if it hadn't have been put out with a full tank of diesel so close to the house, if it hadn't have been put out so quick and we would have had to have waited for the fire brigade to turn up, which did a great job and we're here, but they weren't here immediately, obviously, things could have been very different. Needless to say, I'm someone that under pressure normally deals with things quite well, and I was calm and collected, and I was more concerned about Gabby and Zandy, who were both completely distraught. Bearing in mind Zandy's been staying with me during this lockdown time and working on the lofts and what have you. He was incredibly traumatized by this event. Gabby and I, despite some of my past endeavours, let me start again. Despite some of my past endeavours, I'm a normal guy. I'm a normal entrepreneur guy that's had his fair share of ups and downs. Gabby is a completely normal person, and we're not used to such things at all. Never had anything like this happen before. But somebody, or 3 people, chose to come and torch my car for whatever reason. And the police are dealing with it. The car will be a write-off. We have another car, but it's a terribly old Honda that we just use as a dog car, which causes problems and dealing with insurance and police. And again, it's just a car at the end of the day, but that's not the point of the car. It's what could have happened. It could have been a lot worse. I put a video of the car. You can see that if it hadn't have been put out with a full tank of diesel, it would have been potentially a lot worse, so close to the house. The police are treating it as arson. I'm going to try and insist that they treat it as arson with intent. And I will leave it to the police to hopefully find whoever did it. In the 13 months that I've started RPI, I've had my fair share of hassles and haters and trolls, and I'm all right with that. I don't mind. Keyboard warriors, people that don't like me, who've never met me, all of that stuff doesn't bother me anymore. But when somebody comes and decides to torch my car while we're in the house, very close to the house, that's another level. And I'm lost for words, really. I have seen some gossip about me online over the last day or so. And I have put videos out previously before Facebook in their infinite wisdom decided to close my Racing Pigeon account profile, setting the record straight about my past. And as I commented in one group, somebody talking BS that nobody actually knows about, I said to myself when I was in Romania last year, visiting Sorin Floria, that I would no longer participate in negativity. And I know I'm breaking my own rule now. But certain things mean that I have to, I think. I think it's only right that I have the right to defend me over things that are being said that are untrue. I had somebody saying that I made millions out of selling drugs, which is completely false. I actually, apart from cannabis, hate drugs. I think they screw people's lives up, and I think they are a horrible thing. My moral compass personally thinks that cannabis should be legalized. Obviously it's illegal at the moment, and I was caught growing 220 plants in a warehouse in Leicester in 2006, shortly after my wife left me. I didn't make a penny out of growing cannabis. I lost money, actually. So no, I didn't make millions out of that, and I lost money, and I went to prison for 2 years for it, and I haven't hid that. If anybody would actually like to know the real story, in my own words, up until 2013, my story, I wrote a book about my life called Rebel Entrepreneur. If anybody would like a free copy of this, the online version, let me know. You can read in my own words it. That catalogues my life up until 2013. I was very successful in the late 90s, early 2000s, running many 32,000 adult websites and making a lot of money. I lost all that money and got into debt trying to get that business back. And I only started, ridiculously now in retrospect, started growing those plants to try and pay my moral debts off to people, and was caught for it. And I was released from prison in 2009, October 2009, started again. So that's that. So that puts the record straight. So I hope that's a bit more of a record straight. The reality is, a lot of people perhaps think that I've got money. I don't. The actual reality is, once you've been bankrupt twice, I was bankrupt in 2004 and bankrupt again in 2015. Everybody loves a trier, right? That being bankrupt doesn't give you a lot of money. It's a very difficult thing to start back again after that, especially when a lot of the debt you have is a moral debt. It doesn't matter if a bankruptcy court says you don't have debt anymore. Yes, it wipes bank debt away and what have you. But morally, as a man of principle, over the last 18 years, I owe money to people that I will one day pay back. And I guess some of the things that I've done, like the growing cannabis, was a desperation to try and do that. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I have people that say he's only in doing RPI and interested in pigeons for the money. And despite what people think, nothing could be further from the truth. I've said in the past I have commercial intentions to do things to earn money. Everybody needs to earn money. But I certainly haven't come in to the pigeon sport or the pigeon business to make millions. Thank you to the 230 people now watching. I haven't come in to make millions, to get my money back that I lost all those years ago. I have other business interests that I'm working very hard on to do. There's nothing wrong with earning money, and I think if I provide a good service within the pigeon sport and business, then I should. So I hope that's put the rumour mill. You are not here seeing someone that is sitting on a lot of money at all. I still have a lot of moral debts that I want to pay back at some point. And the more important, what I want to get over is, I have done the only money I have ever got out of anything for the pigeon game since I started again RPI is some expenses to go and cover one-off races. That's it. It costs me and owes me a lot more money as a project than ever I've got in. Lots of money as well. I've done a lot for free that people don't realise. I've done charity auctions that raised over £10,000 for no charge. A man had 6 of his pigeons decapitated in the new year. I managed to find him some, and out of my own pocket, when I could, in reality, least afford to do it, if I'm absolutely honest at the time, pay £250 to get him 6 more pigeons. I'm not telling you this to give me a pat on the back, and I'm not telling you this to think anything other than I'm setting the record straight. So, that's that. Other people would do this just for the money and do nothing for charity and not try and help other people out. I've had people saying on there this morning, what does he actually do? Well, I do this show that's got currently 245 people watching it, and people tune in every week to see this show. And not really anybody's doing anything like this. And I do all of this for free. And at some point, I might get a sponsor on the show. And I am going to start offering some services and stuff. And I have no issue with that. And if people do, then so be it. If I was in this game for the money, I'd pick another business, because it's, with everything that happens and some of the horrible people in here, I would not in this show, I didn't mean in the sport, I'd pick another thing. There's easier ways of making millions, trust me. So, that being said, it has been amazing to have phone calls, messages from some really great people in support over the last few days. I appreciate all of you for it. Thank you very much. It means a great deal to me. I've had so many calls and messages. I was only just speaking to Morris O'Donnell, who I haven't spoken to for a few months because I think he's been in hospital and stuff. He called me at 7 o'clock. And incidentally, I'm delighted to know that a previous order for pigeons that we agreed on from Morris, I'm delighted to know that I'll be getting a full brother to his knockout winner from the South African race this year. That made me very happy today. And Morris is going to certainly send some really great pigeons over. I'm pleased. And thank you to Morris. And as I say, I've had so many messages and calls from people over the last 24 hours, 48 hours. I haven't had time to catch up as ever. I nearly caught up on Facebook before this stuff happened, but I'm a bit behind. If I do owe you phone calls, I will promise get back to you very quickly. But today's been spent time with dealing with police, dealing with insurance, and so forth, as you can imagine. I've been offered some really great help, pigeons, from great people, and thank you. It means a lot. Ultimately, the finalising of our lofts are slightly delayed with all that's been happening. We get CCTV and a fully fledged alarm system in here, and the garage and the lofts and stuff on Wednesday morning being fitted, and I've got a hell of a lot of work to do to get the lofts finished off and stuff. Before then, tomorrow I got to get that sorted out, and Zandy's not around at the moment because obviously he doesn't, he's a bit worried and on edge about things, and so my normal pigeon apprentice is not here at the moment because he's at his mum's, which is completely fine and understandable. But I've lost my little pigeon apprentice who's done a lot of the work on the lofts at the moment. So I got to get the loft sorted out and stuff ready for the CCTV and all of that stuff to be fitted. So a little bit delayed. But I am really looking forward to keeping pigeons again. It's something I'm looking forward to, and trust me, no matter what happens, I will not give up. I'm one of the most resilient people I know, if I do say that so myself. Everything that's happened to me over the last 18 years means it's built my resilience levels up to more than most people. As I've said before, I've experienced more things in my life than most, and apart from serious ill physical health, there isn't much I haven't experienced. So I will keep going. And actually, things like my car being firebombed on Saturday just actually make me more determined to keep going and do what my plans are on everything. And thank you to everybody that continues to support me. So, moving forward, RPI Live is obviously here and will continue to be here 8 o'clock on Mondays. Again, without sounding cocky, and my haters will love me saying the next sentence, I think I'm good at what I do. I'm a marketing guy, I'm an online guy, and I will be starting to offer my services to the pigeon sport and businesses within the pigeon sport moving forward. This show will continue to go from strength to strength. 220 people watching at the moment. And despite everything, I still want to change this sport for the good, and I will continue to do so on my path, no matter what. Whoever torched my car on Saturday, if they thought that would put me off, I have bad news for you. Yes, it's severely traumatized my family, but me personally, there's nothing you can do to put me off continuing what I want to continue and what I will do. Like I said earlier, everybody needs money to live, and I will be doing things that will hopefully start to earn some money within the sport. So, there we go. I know that took up a chunk of time, but I wanted to put it out there. So let's move forward to progressive stuff. If we've got a load of comments I will catch up with. But the first thing I wanted to throw out there was a few things actually. Last week, Richard Chambers was on. It was our longest shows, and up until this show was our most watched show live. And I want you, like I said last week, to get behind his new initiative that he's putting together. He needs adults to help promote, to help adults get into this sport. I'm going through my notes now, and then we'll get on to talking. I'll say hello, see who's on, and then we'll get on to talking about what I want to talk about tonight. Walkers Transport are still busy, and they are still delivering within the UK. The date that this thing will be lifted is yet unknown. At the moment, it's a provisional date of the 4th or the 5th of May when I spoke to Mark last week. But again, it's a wait and see. But within the UK, Walkers Transport are still delivering. My take, or my gut feeling, again, is that there will probably be no old bird racing, but there will be, most likely, there will be, well, let's hope there is young bird racing. Let's see who is online. Again, I've still got the same problem that I can't see who's posted within the group. But let's see who's watching. Let's see who's watching. So on my personal profile, we've got Jeffrey Abel, Ian Evans, Johnny McWhirter, and 12 other people watching. Joanne Soden, Arletta's watching, Tom Bartlett's watching, Lee Jarvis, Simon Lee Hall, Robert's watching. Ben Smith, blimey, I went to school with Ben Smith. Dave Beresford, Carl Douglas, Kevin Frail, Tony Stanger, Copath Lofts, Kevin Frail, Andy Pereira, Sean Elmore. By the way, a big thanks to Andy Pereira. He's offered some great pigeons to Zandy. Really appreciate it. Love it. Malcolm Huffenden, Morris Rodzitis, Tony Burns watching, and a bunch more. 225 people watching. Thank you. It means a lot. So let's thank you for all the comments. I'm not going to go through them all related to the stuff I've been talking about, because I want to move forward with the show. I hope you understand it's nothing personal. And yeah, but thank you to all the comments. Stephen O'Brien says Mark Walker, as of today, is very hopeful to be delivering to Ireland in the first week in May. Let's hope that's what happens, Stephen. We will see. Let's hope it is. Matt Patton says it does look like he's had. This is Richard Chambers' new initiative. It does look like he's had a few more clubs sign up to the Fly Back to Pigeons scheme from what I saw earlier. That's great. Flying Back to Pigeons is a great initiative, and RPI could be an education in tech for older fanciers. Something to think about. I'm absolutely up for that, Baz. Absolutely. Michael Jones says hi as well. Dazza on YouTube says, what racing pigeons are you doing, long or short, pal? I'm doing none at the moment, mate. I'm just about finishing. I'm doing. Yeah, somebody did say about they'll get you loft next. I am worried about that, if I'm honest. That's one thing I am worried. Alex from RV Woodcraft, I hope you're well. But yeah, we'll see. There's only so much I can do, and my new security dog is going to continue with his training, and he will be a fully fledged protection dog one day. I'm trying to persuade Gabby that we should buy an adult protection dog as well for the outside, but it hasn't gone down well yet at the moment. But we'll keep trying, because eventually I do want a dog outside that is outside, and the dog inside, which Luca will be, but we'll see. But for now, CCTV and all of that jazz is being done. So to answer your question, Dazza on YouTube, I haven't got pigeons yet. I have a few pigeons, but they're part of a deal, and I've got to sell them. They're not mine. Well, they are mine, but I'm not keeping them. I personally love the long distance and the extreme long distance. And that's what I'll be focusing on. And my son Zandy, 16-year-old Zandy, loves the idea of sprint. So he's going to be doing the sprint pigeons. He's going to have his own loft section. And I'm going to be doing a long distance. And that's what I'm fascinated by, the idea of flying from Perpignan, Tarbes, Barcelona. Fascinates me, the idea of that. And the longest pigeon I ever sent to was when I was 14, many years ago. And I sent a pigeon to the Lerwick Island, from Lerwick, Shetland Islands to Lerwick. And at the time, that was 417 mile. And I sent this little pied blue hen. And believe it or not, she was only 9 months old, and I sent her. Didn't get first in the club, but I got second in the club, and it was amazing that she'd come back, and I was just so pleased she had. So the old memories make me want to fly long distance again. That's what, and as I say, Zandy will be doing the short. So yeah, hope that. Albert Steptoe is I'm an electrician. Use them. Yeah, we've got a guy. I've got a guy. I've actually got a CCTV system already, but I got to get more cameras on it and all that stuff. So Wednesday morning. If anybody is a car dealer watching, or anybody knows people, when the insurance sort themselves out, I'm gonna need another new car. Not a new car, but I'm gonna need a car. an estate car that's rock solid and diesel. So if anybody is up for helping that, let me know. Once the insurance company finally will sort themselves out, we know what insurance companies are like. So yeah, where are we at? Oh, I've just seen his name pop up. So Neil Gibson says, Mark, in reference to what you asked the other day, I will come on the show next week or week after to update and talk about our journey with Charlie. And if he's awake, we can have him on the show. That's amazing. Great. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Neil. Sorry. Stephen messaged him. That's why I said Stephen afterwards. But the great news, and Neil will tell you more, but great news is Charlie's doing really well now. And yeah, so yeah. So yeah. Albert Steptoe, the only 24-hour colour camera on the market. I'll have a look into that. I know that what we've got HD and all that stuff, 24 hours, so I'm not sure. We'll see. But thank you for your... Dave Bradshaw can help me with the car mark. Thank you, mate. I'll check. I'll message you. Thank you. Where were we? So yeah, thank you to everybody. As I say, it's amazing. 215 people watching. Amazing. And I'm aware that we won't get them numbers every week, but I'm all right with that. So what I want to talk about in the remaining time is a few things. With Zandy starting, if Zandy was starting, forget that he's a young person for a start. If Zandy was starting the sport on his own and his parents, I wasn't his dad, and if he was just a new starter, whether it be a young person or an adult, and you wanted to start in a sport, to me, there's nothing that I would think, right, that's the resource I've got to get, whether it be a book or video series or whatever. And I was briefly speaking to Richard Chambers. I know he's going to be working on something like this as well. But I want to put the complete starters Bible together. And I'm going to get Zandy to help with this. Right? Everything from lofts, when you get your first pigeons, what to do, how to medicate them, what to do. You know, like a full-blown, this is everything you need. Not necessarily like, you know, high-end racing stuff. Obviously, people need to know. But a whole thing from, this is what you got to do to get your loft. This is what you got to do, you know, once you've got your pigeons. If you're dealing with youngsters, everything. I think there needs to be a complete resource. We've said before, people learn in different ways. People learn by reading or watching or listening. So what I want to do is put the pigeon starter guide that takes everybody from getting set up on a daily care basis, what they have to do, when they have to do it, and what have you. And what I want to do is Zandy's journey of starting to keep sprinters, the marathon sprinters not, Zandy's journey to keeping pigeons, I want to get him asking the questions. I won't know all of them at all. I'm going to, you know, I would benefit from some of the things that will be coming into this book. But even if I know the answer, I'm going to get him asking the questions to get ideas about what chapters we need in this. And I want to put this together, and I don't want to make any money out of it. I want to get it on Amazon. I want to offer it as a resource. I want to offer it as a free electronic book and a free video series. But Ian Gill has been an absolute diamond to me over the last 3 days. We have never met. I've told you about Ian before. Ian and I initially had quite a fraught first conversation ever, because he was messaging me a year or so ago, and I said, listen, I'm not going through all this on text. If you've got any problems with me, let's have a call. We had an hour and 20-minute call later, and we've been remote, virtual, never seen each other in person yet, friends since. And Ian Gill has been an absolute diamond to me over the last 3 days, and he's been a massive support. Thank you. And I'll tell you somebody else that I really want to thank for their friendship, who I only met in Blackpool in January, is Mickey Brown from down south in London area. Mickey Brown's been a diamond. He's offered Zandy some great pigeons, and thank you. So back to this book. I want to put the ultimate starting guide together for the sport. I also want to add in a slightly different angle on how you can get involved in pigeons if you don't want to keep them in your back garden. I've told you about my ideas before. You can get involved in One Love races, or you can breed pigeons to put into races. Another thing, I want to add some stuff like that in as well. But I want the ultimate starter guide. And ultimately, I need help. I want to give it for free to anybody that wants it. And I want it to be a step-by-step, right, you've got your first young birds into your loft. This is what you need to give them. This is what you need to do. I want to put a section together of all the different places that sell pigeon products, both online and offline. So it's easy. All right, I'm in this area. This is the supply. I want to make it as fully comprehensive as possible. I want help with it. I'm going to be using Zandy as the guide, as the starting guide, but I need help. If people would like to help me with that, or have any resources to people that can help in any way, please let me know, but I think it should happen. The next thing, and I said I will do it as a book, electronic book. I'll do it as a video series and as an audio as well. And there's an argument we should print the book. And if we do print the book, we'll get the book printed and we'll just charge at cost for it if people want to buy it as a physical book on Amazon. So that's that. The second thing that came up briefly on the show last week was the idea of private clubs. Richard Chambers was on last week. And it's an idea that I've had. I think there should be league systems. I think there should be a lot of different changes to bring the sport up. I said, I don't know if I said it publicly or not. I said, but a lot of clubs, not all, there's some very good clubs, but a lot of clubs, if a new person that was interested in getting into the sport went to some clubs around the UK, they would be not particularly enamoured by the idea and what they see. By the way, going back to what I was talking about earlier, one of the reasons I don't like talking about this is because it's not a great idea for me talking. It's not a great advert, me talking about all this other stuff that's happened. I don't like it, but it does need to be addressed. Back to the idea of private clubs. I think there should be a club set up that has a league system that works in a professional way. I know there's some clubs that the National Flying Club and the Up North Combine, and they're run more as businesses, and I think that's the key to it. Some great clubs out there, I'm not saying there's not, but a club that is ETS, everybody runs on the same ETS, a club that is offering prize money that you have to pay yearly to. Now, this club would fall under the RPRA rules. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but the club would be run on an open boundary system. Now, initially, obviously, small beginning, small acorns. It would start, and the start would be a county. Let's say I started it in Leicestershire. Anybody in Leicestershire could join this club. And then eventually it goes per county. There's a division of the club in each county. And anybody in that postcode of that county can join, no matter what. And you'd have a boundary around the county so that actually, if somebody's in the next county but they're far closer to the headquarters of that club, they could join. You'd make it fair, normal and easy with no BS. And then each of them clubs over time could have their own loft ran by one of the club members as a mini one-off race. Now, bear with me on this. the club, you could race as normal to your back garden as part of the club. But then over time, the club runs its race, its own loft, as part of the club. And members of the public can have pigeons in that loft without actually having to look after them. So then what you do is you create a mini one loft race in each club division, as it were. And then when it gets big enough, all them clubs and all them races, all them little mini club lofts are competing with each other. That run on a professional level as an enterprise that ultimately would make money, but it would be reinvesting a hell of a lot of money back into prize money. Look, when you compete in the UK for prize money, what do you win? Unless you pull up your birds, you don't win anything. And I don't care what anybody says. If you can bring prize money into this mainstream side of this sport, you will attract people. You just will. So, what do people think to that idea of a new club that is run professionally as a club with none of the the boundaries issues and running people out of clubs and boundaries and not accepting people to come in? I don't know who would look after the run out club loft. The club loft is a longer term plan. The initial plan is setting up a new private club that eventually becomes national, and then over time you integrate, you introduce, like for instance, I would run a club loft in my area and you only need one member in each county to do it. Or eventually when it gets big enough you can pay somebody to do it on a part-time basis. There's lots of ideas. Let me know what you think about that, because I think something really needs to change, and I think bringing a club that is professional and not in a back room of a pub that then moves, and then some of the clubs when I was a kid we went to containers, and I know it is what it is, but I'm talking up in the levels. There's some clubs out there in Canada and the US that it's next level stuff, and it's not flash massive money stuff. It's just a nice environment to be in, and you would think, new starters would like to come to this. And this club ethos would be everybody's welcome whether you race pigeons or not. And then over time, you would get it that people are then able to go and see the pigeons come in even if they're not racing. It's a new type of thing I'm talking about. It would be a big layout to start, yeah. But again, you can do deals. There's transporters out there that can be picked up and leased or loaned. And it's just an idea, guys. I'm an ideas guy. It's like the guy that was saying, he's got all these ideas, but what comes off? I'm an ideas guy. RPI TV's here. It will continue to be here, and you'll see other stuff. But I'm just giving you the idea. We need to up the game. We have to up the game. You need to support Richard's new initiatives, and you need to up the game. We've got 3 to 5 years maximum. Because I don't want to see Zandy at my age and there'd be no sport as we know it. I just don't want that to happen. So, beginner's book, let me know if any people like that idea and if people would be interested in helping to contribute. Let me know what people think about private clubs as well. So, let's think about it. I already have the name for the club in mind. I already have the domain name for it. Think about if people are interested. I'm going to speak to somebody about the idea that wants to set up a club that's run as a business. Should have been doing that a few days ago and didn't. And then I'm also going to speak to somebody that is talking about setting up a new type magazine. I spoke about this before. I like the idea that there is a online magazine monthly initially that's free, that's online, and it is international and translated into 12 different languages, so that we in the UK can go and see who's winning in China or America or any country, and that has great stats and data and online. And I think I get the British Gaming World every week. I have for years, and it's a great resource, and I actually look forward to reading it when it gets emailed through to me. But to bring new people in and to up the game, something's got to change in the market. The best, most progressive magazine that I know of, and I know there's some great magazines in China and Taiwan and what have you, and other places in Europe as well. The Canadian International magazine, they're trying to up the game and they're doing a good job of it. But I'm talking about a truly international magazine that's translated. A geezer in Romania or Poland doesn't want to have to read an English-based magazine. He wants to read it in his own language. Same for Chinese people. Let me show you. Let me show you some of the magazines. Excuse me a second. These are Taiwanese magazines, right? This is what I'm talking about. That is next level stuff. Now, I'm talking about it being an online magazine, but it could actually be and a free online magazine. But if people wanted to actually get it printed, potentially, they could. You know, it could be printed at a cost if people wanted that. But this stuff, this is what I'm talking about. Like, let me show you some of this. Like, look at this. I got this when I was in China, obviously. I mean, this is next level stuff here. I'm not saying it has to be quite this big or anything, but I'm saying that is a magazine right there. Members of the public could potentially pick that up. And with all due respect to magazines out there at the moment, the magazines we have don't look like this. And I think they need to. So a global magazine that eventually has a different style, you know, I think is a good thing. What do people think? So yeah, that was that idea. And then, like saying, the league system, we need leagues. It's not a new starter coming in fine against the same geezer that wins every single week. It's going to be put off pretty damn quick if he's being beaten every week by that same guy. We need a league system, just like football. I'm not into football, but just like football. That's what we need. And this club would have that league system. I mean, initially when it started, there wouldn't be probably enough people in it to have a league, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, let's tune in, see who we've got. Let's see who we've got. Copath Lofts, Andy Pereira, Sean Elmore, Maris Rodceses, Michelle Stevens, Claire Norman, blimey Claire, tuning in on my personal profile. Wow, haven't seen you in ages. Gavin Mack, Jason Wincup, Kev Parsons, Ryan Blondie, Stephen Crosley, Troy McDonald, Willie Lennox, Adam Glass, loads of people, Ronnie Tracy Nicklin, Will Saggers, Lee Osborne Lost, Philip Pritchard, Steve Duggan, Will McCourtney. Excellent. Thank you for everybody that's doing it. Let's catch up on some more. Mozak Cavey Stud say, I like the idea of a league system with federation moving up and down divisions would be really get fired up. I think it would as well. Somebody said last week, oh, how people are going to feel if they go into League 2. Listen, up your game. Your goal is to get into League 1 or the Premier League or whatever. I need to get a laugh now. Albert Steptoe says, pity it's during the pandemic and there's low funds. Talk to me. I know what you mean, mate. So let's have a look what else we've said. Matt Patton is the guy I was going to talking about. Magazine with global appeal. We need to speak, Matt, and let's do it in the next day or so. A new magazine, Dave Bradshaw said, would be a great idea. Something has to change. I'm fortunate enough to be involved in sport my short life, but the idea of pigeon racing may well be finished in time. It's so uneasy for me. That's Jack Berry, somebody else I need to speak to. Jack has offered Zandy some great sprinters, and his father, very lovely, has offered me a pair of his Tarbs flying pigeons as well. Lovely people again. It heartens me that the amount of people that have offered Zandy sprint pigeons. I've had people offering me long distance pigeons. It's really heartening that actually it reminds you that 80% of people in the sport are good people, and that's what matters, eh? Shane Stockdale says it's a brilliant, definite idea. It needs an uplift. An old man told me off for saying his son enjoy your birds and they will do you proud. Stephen Rice. Starting new clubbers leagues, as you mentioned, the postcode area is a great idea, but as you mentioned, if 5 fly too close to the next boundary, they go in that club. Same problem we have here in Yorkshire, Nottingham, Derbyshire. But again, you'd sit down and that's Adrian Carr saying that. And I appreciate the comment, Adrian, but what you do is you'd be sensible about it. You say, right, our club headquarters is, in the middle of this county, but this geezer that's just over the boundary, that's just near the boundary, but he's actually closer to the next county, you'd have a leeway either side of the county that the geezer can choose which club he joins. Doesn't have to be difficult, does it? Some of these organisations put prize money up instead of banking it every week, might encourage more new starters and keep people interested. I'm a new starter this year and it's not cheap. Absolutely, completely agree. Starting pigeons will happily help them out, Mark Mickey Hessin said. Mickey Hessin, I hope you're well, mate. I've missed a lot of your comments. Tony Hughes, British Home World too thin now. It is what it is, isn't it? It's probably so Tony Hughes saying that's a sign of where we're at, and outside of selling season, the magazine shrinks, and then comes selling season, it goes up. Kenny Stenhouse said, Ray, you done all this years ago. Is that Ray Knight you're talking about, Kenny? Let me know. Ray's done also with the winner. I don't know about that, Kenny. Let me know about that, what that is, please. Yeah, so that's that. I've got other stuff to talk about, but we are an hour in, and I think we should wrap things up. I apologise for half of the show being dominated by my events and all that stuff. It's not what I want the show to be about. I have make no apologies for spending a good 5, I don't know how many minutes it was, but for dedicating this show to my good friend Ali Ward, who passed away on Saturday. Like I said, this show, we still have 167 people watching now. This show is getting bigger and better. It will continue to get bigger and better, and I thank you everybody for who shares the show, watches the show, and gets involved. We're going to be having more guests on the show in the coming weeks. And like I say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we continue. Cheyenne Martin, Sean Crocker, thank you for that comment. Much appreciated. So we will wrap it up. Thank you, Dave Bradshaw, for that. And let's wrap it up. If you haven't yet joined the RPI Facebook group, we are now charging ahead to our next 8,000 members. Thank you to all the moderators, by the way. All 4 new moderators came on board last week, and they had a busy old weekend, trust me. I think our membership went up by 200 people in 3 days. If you haven't yet joined the RPI Facebook group, go to facebook.com/groups/Racing Pigeon International, or just type in Racing Pigeon International to the search bar and go and join our group. You are most welcome. It's the ethos of what Racing Pigeon International is and what I am trying to do. Go and like the page, the Racing Pigeon International page, facebook.com/Racing Pigeon International. Like I've said before, my Facebook profile, which is now just about to hit 4,000 of the 5,000 friends I'm allowed, is the only profile I now have. Thank you to whoever reported me for having 2 profiles. If you want to friend request me on that, you are quite welcome while I still have the capacity. And you can do that by going to facebook.com/Marquis, MARKY Lyford. But a little warning, so people don't have a go at me. I do post about non-pigeon related stuff on the show. So be prepared if you want to friend request me that you will see stuff come up about my life, my business, my other passion, which is music and other stuff. And not just pigeons. If you only want to hear about pigeon stuff, go and like the Facebook, the Racing Pigeon International Facebook page, or join the group. Who else have we got? Richard Chambers said, sorry, I'm late today. Mark, been finalising a new video for tomorrow. Richard, send it to me and I will share it. Richard's putting out videos in this time of lockdown of flyers with their pigeons and their lofts, and I want to do everything I can to help Richard with that initiative as well. Yeah, there's a few people joining nothing to do with pigeons. A few of my friends are joining to see what's going on with me as well. The only thing to change, of course, pigeon racing is to make it more professional. Richard Shepherd says this. With any professional sport, the thing that makes it is money, prize money, and better use of technology. It's the only way sport will go will go forward and stop declining. One of the places where the sport is going, in my opinion. I completely agree, Richard Shepherd. Kieran Stewart Ullman, very good show, Mark. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. I'm going to go and get something to eat. I got a lot of my friends joining this show tonight that have absolutely zero interest in pigeons or racing pigeons at all. Thank you to everybody that's joined, whether you're my non-pigeon friend or my pigeon friends. And I will be looking to visit Backyard Lofts, Cheyenne, Martin, Shaw and Crocker. I am up for visiting any lofts within the UK once this lockdown finishes. Again, thank you everybody. Much appreciated for tuning in. Our highest ever viewing figures. I think we topped out 220 something people, and that just means that it means a great deal to me, and thank you for everybody that has tuned in. This video, if you missed any of it, will be replayed on Facebook and on YouTube. If you would like anybody that you think would like to watch it, please share it, show it to them, and get other people involved knowing what we do here on RPI Live, 8 o'clock every Monday. I will keep going. I will be back next week, and no doubt you'll hear from me in between. Thank you to everybody that's watched. Have a good day, rest of your night at least. Keep sane in week 4 of lockdown. Keep going. Never give up. We will get through this. This will pass. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.